And good morning, high school football fans. Welcome to the High School Sports Roundup here on ESPN Radio Savannah, Hilton Head, the ESPN app, and ESPNCoastal.com. PJ Zucco here with you this morning as we look at yesterday evening and the night before there, the last weekend, second to last weekend, of the high school football season as we get things squared away and set for the last weekend of the high school football season. Now, some of those teams, though, playing their last game of the regular season last night and have a bye week before the playoffs. Certainly cause for some interesting matchups and some interesting situations last night and the night before, without a doubt. And looking forward to talking about all that here on the Roundup and, of course, the situations that teams have been put into as we look forward into next week and the last week of this high school football regular season. Not a lot of teams saying, okay, we're squared away and we're good to go. We can coast into this last week of the regular season and be fine, right? A lot of teams have a lot on the line moving into next week and look forward to that. Always better when the last weekend of the high school football means something. And when you have teams as talented, as good as the teams we have in the Savannah and Hilton Head area, I think you're always going to kind of have that here around the area. So certainly looking forward to talking about all this. So let's go through these scores from last night and the night before here on the High School Sports Roundup. There on Thursday night, you heard it here on ESPN Radio for ESPN's high school coverage of Benedictine Cadets football presented by Savannah Toyota. The Cadets got the victory over Islands 58-13 there on Thursday evening as, again, the running game for Benedictine just kind of exploding. Holden Garner with a rushing touchdown. You had 2 passing touchdowns from Garner as well. I believe 3 touchdowns from Justin Thomas, again, as he just continues to light up the scoreboard. And now with Benedictine finishing off the season, the regular season on that big win streak, they dropped the first 2 games of the year, come back, finish off 8-0 there over the last 8 games of the season, and go 3-0 in region play, win the region championship for Benedictine, solidify that 1 seed for the Cadets, and now have a bye week as they played straight through the regular season there with their first game getting rescheduled and then playing straight through, and now have the bye week before the playoffs start. And I think a lot of teams, you look at that and you say, do you lose some rhythm? Are you going to come out sloppy there in round 1? I'd be worried for that 4 seed. That's going to be a tough matchup either way. And then you have a well-rested Benedictine squad coming in the ball game feeling good too. So that's going to be rough, I think, and we'll see how that works out. But either way, Benedictine keeps on rolling, gets the victory over Islands. Now, last night in that same region, you had a wild one between Jenkins and New Hampstead, and it was for the 2 seed for a home playoff game there in the first round of the playoffs in a few weeks. And what a game we had on ESPNCoastal.com. Of course, ESPN's high school game day game of the week, fueled by End Market, brought to you by Savannah and Low Country Honda dealers. And we had an absolute battle there all throughout the night as it started out looking like it might be a blowout. New Hampstead came out, jumped out to a quick lead that after the opening kickoff goes back to New Hampstead. That's right. Same situation as last week that New Hampstead was in against Benedictine. The kick fell right between the up back and the return man for Jenkins, and New Hampstead was the first to get to it, recovered that basically onside kick. Not really an onside kick, but basically an onside kick for the Phoenix, and they recover that at the 25-yard line and are in business. You have a touchdown pass from Polly Seeley to Samari Dowdy out of the backfield, and just like that, New Hampstead up 7-0. Then following a botched punt by Jenkins and a fumble, which New Hampstead was able to recover, and then 2 touchdowns by Jamel Coast running the football. Boom. New Hampstead up 22-0 in the first quarter, I think about 6 minutes in, and things looked rough. But you got to give credit to Jenkins for coming back and really bowing up and doing what they needed to do to get back in that ball game, down 22-0 off the jump we've seen teams do that to New Hampstead. We've seen teams do that to a lot of people throughout the course of this regular season, and not a lot of teams come back from that. So certainly give credit to Jenkins for being able to do that. Was able to do so with some big turnovers defensively and big plays in the special teams as well. You had a big fumble recovery where Pauly Seeley right on the sideline, not quite out of bounds, and Jenkins was able to strip the football. Defensive lineman able to run it back all the way inside the 10-yard line. That set up a Jenkins touchdown rush by Joshua Pridgeon. And then you come back after that, defensively able to hold New Hampstead down inside their own 20-yard line, and you go with about 1 yard to spare there, a 4th and 1. New Hampstead backed up there inside their own 30. You go with a punt that looked like it was going to be a punt from the quarterback and went over his head. Snap went over his head. He had backed up a few yards even to take the snap and went over his head, was tackled there at about the 10-yard line, and Jenkins back in business once again, is able to rumble into the touchdown there and score another one there quick. So 22 to 14. New Hampstead does come back with 2 straight field goals there before the end of the first half to make it 28 to 14 there at halftime. Hedman was big for New Hampstead all night there in the kicking game and did a really solid job there for New Hampstead. But 28 to 14 there. And in the second half, it was just all Jenkins. Jenkins comes out with a big defensive stop there to start things off there in the third quarter. They get a big touchdown there to start things off as well. And then, of course, you have another defensive stop for Jenkins, a big interception as well, following a holding penalty that was huge for New Hampstead as well. That was kind of a hidden part of this ball game that you got to bring up and you got to mention too. Some big holding penalties there against the Phoenix there over the course of the game. That one was that they were down inside the 15-yard line there of Jenkins. The hold brings them all the way back to the 27 for a second and 23 there to try and get down to the 3-yard line and not able to do so. Instead, you have on 4th down and 23, you have a interception thrown by Seeley there at the 5-yard line, and Jenkins able to take that possession, bring it all the way into the end zone. Huge 69-yard touchdown pass in the second half there by Jeremiah James to Trey Brown. And then on 4th and 1, the game-winning touchdown as Jenkins tied it up 28 to 28. The game-winning touchdown on 4th and 1 on New Hampstead's 27-yard line was a 27-yard touchdown rush there by Joshua Pridgeon. And New Hampstead able to come back, march down the field. Huge kickoff return there late in the ball game. Gets on the Jenkins side of the football field. And on 4th and 7, thrown pass right over the middle, was looking, Seeley was looking for his favorite wide receiver, best wide receiver probably. When you talk about skill play and you talk about big plays for the Phoenix, in Taranio Bias, I was looking for him over the middle, but you had Simmons there, Jelani Simmons, for Jenkins, who made a few big plays other than that, but big interception there and takes it inside of Jenkins' territory there, and they're able to execute a perfect 4-minute offense to run out the clock and get the victory there for the Warriors. So they come back from 22 down to come back and win that one against New Hampstead last night on ESPN's High School Game Day Game of the Week, fueled by End Market, brought to you by Savannah and Low Country Honda dealers. Jenkins wins that one 34 to 28. Also last night, you move up to 6A, and what a situation we have in 6A as Effingham County does what they need to do. They get the victory over Statesboro 34 to 21. So now Effingham, 1 loss on the year. Brunswick High gets the on the year in region play. Brunswick High gets the victory over Bradwell 49 to 6 last night. So in Effingham next week, region championship game between Effingham and undefeated Brunswick High. That big for them, but that not it, as Richmond Hill gets the victory over South Effingham 27 to 13. They're now 4-2 in region play and have a win over Effingham. So if Effingham ends up losing that game against Brunswick High, they'll be tied in the region standings and Richmond Hill will own that will own the head-to-head victory over Effingham County, both teams with 2 losses. That's not where all this stops either, as that's the first 3 teams in this region, right, that have playoff hopes and are locked into the playoffs. Well, also you have Statesboro, who falls to Effingham there last night and puts themselves in quite the situation against Glen Academy, who's 2-3 in region play. Statesboro 3-2, and the Red Terrors coming off a bye week as well. Statesboro plays Glen Academy next week in Glen County Stadium. So, man, quite the situation there in 6A. That's going to be fun to see how that shakes out, as you have then Glen Academy, if they get the win, would own the head-to-head there over Statesboro. Obviously, if Statesboro wins, they go 4-2 there in region play and throw their hat in the ring for whatever tiebreakers they would have. So, man, it's going to be a fun last weekend there in the 6A classification there, and certainly looking forward to that with every team kind of having a chance to move up or move down based on how they perform next week. And that's what you really want, other than Richmond Hill. Richmond Hill not going to be playing a region game there next week. So obviously an interesting situation there as they kind of sit back and watch and see how this all plays out in region play there in 6A. But 3A, you had Windsor Forest on the road at Southeast Bullock last night, a chance to win that region championship, and Windsor Forest not able to get it done. Southeast Bullock comes out, and now Southeast Bullock's a really good football team. 1 loss on the year, and that loss to Liberty County, as Southeast Bullock comes out and wins that win over Windsor Forest 34-6. That gives the region championship to Liberty County, as Beach tried to upset Liberty there last night and certainly got close. Liberty County gets the win over Beach 32-26, again solidifying that region championship for Liberty County. Windsor Forest going to fall down, I believe, to the 3 seed there with the 2nd loss in region play. Southeast Bullock with only that 1 loss in region play, and Liberty County obviously with falling there or getting the victory there against Beach. Johnson doing their best to punch their ticket to the playoffs as well. The Adams Smashers get the victory over Savannah High last night, 48-0 in region play. So a solid win for Derek Bonner and the Johnson Adams Smashers. We'll chat with Coach Bonner later in the show about that win. So certainly looking forward to that. Bullock Academy getting the victory over St. Andrews last night. That was 41-0. You have Southwest Georgia getting the victory over Memorial Day, 48-7 there last night as well. McIntosh County Academy defeating Portal 48-0. Metter over Claxton 62-10 there last night, as Metter just keeps on rolling. Pinewood Christian getting the victory over Frederica Academy 32-20 there on St. Simon's Island. So Pinewood Christian wins that region championship there and able to get the win there over Frederica. Appling County stays undefeated. They win over Brantley County 48-7. Pierce County gets the win over Tatnall 35-0. So Pierce County, Appling County, both undefeated in region play. They will play next week for the region championship. And again, the last week of the regular season, you love to see it. Ware County stays undefeated in region play. They get the win over Veterans 28-21. Ware County looks to finish off that region schedule against Wayne County next week in a big rivalry game against the Yellow Jackets, who were off this week. Kind of the rough season for the Yellow Jackets throughout this year. And they'll try, if they can put a feather in their cap and upset Ware County, that would be a wild way to end the season without a doubt. Bethesda Academy falls to Dorchester Academy 32-6. Early last night, it was Hilton Head Christian with the victory over Hilton Head Prep 42-0, as Christian just keeps on rolling. May River defeating Hilton Head 33-16 there last night. And James Island gets the victory over Bluffton 35-0 as well. But obviously some big games, big situations there last night, and tried to go over and cover all of it. Can't always, though, with so many teams in the area as well, and so many important situations and matchups there as well. We'll come back, keep talking about the big games from last night, and of course what they set up here in the last week of the regular season. Also be talking to some head football coaches here on the High School Sports Roundup on ESPN Radio Savannah Hilton Head, the ESPN app, and ESPNcoastal.com. Of course, all fueled by End Market. We'll come back in just a few minutes. And welcome back. It's High School Sports Roundup here on ESPN Radio Coastal Georgia and Savannah. Hilton Head, PJ Zucco here with you this morning. Excuse me, man. Just all of those. It's a big day. Well, looking forward to a big day of football, and I've had a big week as well of high school football in this second to last week of the regular season. Looking forward to the last week of the regular season here with a lot on the line because of what happened last night and Thursday night all throughout the Savannah and Hilton Head area. And, of course, looking forward to a big day today. Got Georgia, Florida later today. Of course, broadcast will start there on ESPN Coastal, ESPN Savannah Hilton Head here at 11:30 for pregame, Dogs pregame. So certainly looking forward to that, leading you up to kickoff there at 3:30. Of course, you see the sweatshirt I'm wearing if you're watching the stream. It says Happy Valley. If I can't believe, if I don't believe, no one's going to believe, right? So, and it's always, listen, I know you're Dog fans, but it's always a good day when Ohio State loses, right? So let's hope for a Georgia win today. Hopefully parlay that into a Penn State win later tonight as well. And, of course, the Atlanta Braves getting that victory last night over the Houston Astros, and what a pitching display that was by the Braves and the really entire staff. We'll hope they can keep that up later tonight and hopefully take that 3-1 lead over the Houston Astros as well. But again, so many games last night that were just hugely important and came down to the wire, and that sets up a heck of an end to the regular season here in high school football, with all these games certainly mattering. There's not a lot of teams stepping into this week that's just saying, let's just coast through it. No, there's a lot on the line for most of these teams here in the Savannah and Hilton Head area, and looking forward to that without a doubt. Now, a couple of those teams done for the regular season, and looking forward to the postseason and a bye week here this week, and that's going to be Benedictine and Islands and Jenkins and New Hampstead. Benedictine gets a win over Islands 58-13 there on Thursday. The Cadets take the region championship. The Island Sharks there 0-3 in region. Some close ball games and some tight ones, but fall to 0-3 in region, going to be the 4 seed coming out of that region. Jenkins comes back from 22-0 down last night to beat New Hampstead 34-28 and claim that second spot in the region, and holding a home playoff game here in a few weeks when the playoffs start. New Hampstead, that is a heck of a 3 seed. I would not want to play them, and they'll go on the road for at least the first week of the regular season. And then, of course, if they win that one, depending on how things shake out moving forward. But had a couple regions still that I wanted to look at and dive into kind of the situations they're in. We talked kind of at length there about 6A and their situation, and certainly looking forward to that. We'll kind of refresh it and relook at that here in a little bit, but also want to take a look there at the region standings for 3A in our area, in the Savannah Hilton Head area. And again, Liberty County was able to get that victory over Beach last night. That secures the region championship for Liberty County with the win they had there. 5-1 in region play over the course of the year. The only one there in region that beat Southeast Bullock, as they were able to get that victory a couple weeks ago and obviously solidify that region championship. Southeast Bullock, second place and 4-1 in region play right now, 8-1 overall. So Southeast Bullock has been an insanely solid team all throughout the year. That one slip up, that one loss to Liberty County, going to cost them here and going to cost them the region championship there against Liberty. This is where things get really interesting as well. You look forward into next week. Johnson 3-2 in region. Windsor Forest now, after dropping the last 2 games, falls to 3-2 in region as well. Beach is at 2-3 in region play, and they have a matchup with Johnson next week. Windsor Forest taking on Savannah next week, and Savannah 1-4 there in region. Groves 0-6 in region play. So that then out of the playoffs, and Johnson, Windsor Forest, Beach kind of fighting for these last 2 spots in the playoffs, and going to be very interesting to see how this shakes out. Of course, you look at Johnson and Beach, that big game for the Atom Smashers there next week, and for the Beach Bulldogs as well, as they kind of sit on the outside looking in right now. Almost got the upset win over Liberty County last night too. That was a 32-26 ball game, and Beach has gotten better and better as the year has gone on. Another one of these teams that you look back at the start of the regular season, you couldn't really see them get on the field as COVID and things like that kind of passing through the area. That was obviously big back in August here around the area, and we had some schools that were very much affected by it, and seemed like Beach just wasn't able to get on the field. Finally, they're able to, and now starting to look pretty good, like a pretty good football team here late in the season. So Johnson taking on Beach there next week, and 3-2, 2-3 in region play between those two teams. Windsor Forest sits at 3-2, and now if Windsor Forest gets the win over Savannah next week, and Johnson gets the win over Beach, which certainly isn't written in stone, you have 2 4-2 ball clubs in region play, and Johnson having the head-to-head there over Windsor Forest. So Windsor Forest could very well go from having a chance to win a region championship there last week or just last night to now possibly being the 4 seed and slipping out of the playoffs. And you can't just write that one up as a victory against Savannah High next week either. So certainly a very interesting situation in 3A there with the Savannah Hilton Head bracket and region. So looking forward without a doubt to what's going on here next week in Savannah Hilton Head there in 3A. Now, down the road in 3A as well, have something interesting shaking out with Pierce County and Appling County in that region. Now, of course, Appling County undefeated, and looking for that 10-0 record. Pierce County undefeated in region play, gets the 35-0 victory over Tatnall. Pierce fighting for that number 1 seed, fighting for the region championship next week, and if they can get a win, that would be huge as well. And that I can't wait for that matchup. I think that's going to be monumental. Both teams have insanely solid football players and coaches, and just all around programs. And defensively, Pierce is nasty. Appling County has some athletes, though, that can really shake things up offensively. That's going to be a fun matchup. But you look down at 3 through 5 there in that region as well. You have Long County with 1 win in region play, Brantley County with a win over Tatnall, who doesn't have a win in region play. And Pierce County did the job for Brantley County last night. Now Brantley is looking at Long County, trying to be Long County fans next week, as Long County takes on Tatnall. And if Long County wins that ball game, Long would be the 3 seed, Brantley County would be the 4 seed, and Tatnall would miss the playoffs. If Tatnall wins that game, you have a 3-way split between Long and Brantley and Tatnall, where everyone has beaten each other. And that always the most interesting of ties and tiebreakers here when you get to late in the season. It always seems like one region kind of acts up and has something like that happen, whether it's for the region championship or for fighting to get into the playoffs or what. It always seems like one region is the one to shake that up. But interesting things there developing in 3A without a doubt. In 5A, pretty straightforward with Ware County and Wayne County in that whole region. Ware County undefeated in region play right now. They have Wayne County coming up here next week, and Wayne County doesn't have a win, obviously, in region play just yet. So Ware County looking to finish off 4-0 in region, and would obviously give them the region championship and the 4-0 and 1 seed, all that good stuff there that comes with the region championship. Now, you look at the other side of things. Warner Robins gets the victory over Coffee last night, 22-7, and Coffee falls now to the 3 seed. Warner Robins still has a game left against Veterans, and you can't just chalk that one up as a victory either. Veterans, a team, it seems like they kind of played to the level of their competition, right? Kind of struggled a little bit against Wayne County and said, oh man, well, they got the win, but they're not gonna be a very tough out for the rest of this region. They've kind of played up to the competition even last night, pushing Ware County to a 28-21 ball game. So it's going to be fun to see how that shakes up between Warner Robins and Veterans there next week. Obviously, if Veterans gets the win, they'd move up to 2-2. Warner Robins drop down to 2-2 there in region play, and things would be very interesting there. Of course, you have Wayne County just kind of trying to play spoiler with Ware County next week. But we'll see. I know everything's going to shut down there in Wayne County, and they're going to try and get as many fans out there as possible with that big rivalry game. And you throw all records out the window, all that good stuff. But crazier things have happened there at the end of the regular season. So we'll see how it all shakes up here in region play in 5A as well. But having a great time this morning on the High School Sports Roundup, kind of breaking down these regions and seeing how everything's developing there over the past few nights. And of course, looking into next week in the last week of the regular season before we dive into the playoffs. Felt like it last night too, which gotta say was fantastic. About 58 degrees there when we ended the broadcast from Pooler Stadium. Love that. Love that. And I'm not someone who's going to say it wasn't cold because it was cold. I just like it. I just enjoy it. So I don't know who else was out there, but hope everyone had a great night and obviously stay safe throughout this weekend and stay safe getting home there last night as well. But have a lot of show there here left and looking forward to keep covering these high school football matchups from last night and looking forward to the rest of the regular season here with 1 week to go here next week. And of course, looking forward to talking to some head football coaches from all around the area as well here on the High School Sports Roundup on ESPN Radio, Savannah, Hilton Head, the ESPN app, and ESPNcoastal.com. And welcome back. It's High School Sports Roundup here on ESPN Radio, Savannah Hilton Head, the ESPN app, ESPNCoastal.com. PJ Zucco here with you, finishing off the weekend here for the second to last weekend of the regular season. I'm going to get this right but before the end of the morning. We're going to come back here next segment, and I'm going to nail this intro. It's going to be fantastic. But no, second to last week of the regular season here in high school football in the state of Georgia and in the Savannah Hilton Head area, and a number of big games there last night, and setting up a ton of crazy situations. And you love to see that in the last week of the season. Certainly looking forward to that. I know big day for everybody today. Georgia, Florida, there in Jacksonville, and the biggest blankety blank. Now I'll say the biggest cocktail party there. Then Jacksonville, and I'm looking forward to that between Georgia and Florida in a game that, man, I think starts close, but by the end of it, I don't think we're talking about anything but kind of a snooze fest, as Georgia's just so dominant this year. And I know a lot of the other people on the station, not going to name names. Of course, Georgia plays today, so I don't want to talk about them too much with certain names in the office, but they believe in all those curses and things like that. Georgia's such a good football team, just top to bottom. They're really the only ones I believe in as an elite football team this year. I think everyone else has some pretty big holes in what they do, and Georgia just right now does not. That defense is kind of freaks of nature. But back to high school football here is some big games there from last night all around the area. You had Effingham defeating Statesboro 34-31. South Effingham falling to Richmond Hill 27-13, and Brunswick High defeating Bradwell Institute 49-6. Now that sets up the interesting situation here for next week. Brunswick High, Effingham for the region championship, with Brunswick undefeated, Effingham 1 loss in region play. Waiting in the wings will be Richmond Hill, who's 4-2 in region and finished up in region play. Statesboro, following that loss to Effingham, will take on Glen Academy, and that will serve as a one-off 4-seed fight for the 4 seed there between Statesboro and Glen Academy, as both those teams sitting Glen Academy at 2-3, Statesboro at 3-2. So you look at Statesboro, they could be going from fighting for a home playoff game last night to now possibly dropping out of the playoffs if they lose to Glen Academy next week. That all sets up in Glen County Stadium for that big showdown. Of course, you have the Effingham-Brunswick game, the showdown there in Effingham County. So that a home game for Effingham and taking on Brunswick, who is undefeated on the year, but doesn't mean that they've written off and everything's fine yet. Their biggest game of the year going to be at Effingham there next week. And Effingham County has looked so strong over the past few weeks as well. I'm not going to lie. I won't lie to anybody. They dropped the game against Richmond Hill in the way they did, and I was like, okay, all right, Effingham kind of struggling right now. They've rattled off, all these victories since then in region play and have looked really good doing so. So can't wait for that matchup between Effingham and Brunswick here next week, and got confirmation from Matt Lazat. Also confirmation and a bit of a confession as well. His voice not up to par this morning. Kind of yelled it out there last night and kind of lost it there this morning. As I'm sure not all yelled it out last night. You had the cold moving through the area, and that can affect everybody in different ways and whatnot too. So he said voice kind of completely gone. We've been texting back and forth this morning, and did solidify and clarify these tiebreakers and whatnot for the situation. And thankfully, you get into that 3-game split that we've been talking about. Some regions just can't help but stay away from it. It looks like they're going to stay away from it, but with the head-to-head tiebreakers, that's all you got, head-to-head. And you have a lot of those situations here coming up. If Brunswick wins, Effingham will drop down and it will have obviously a 4-2 record there in region play, same as Richmond Hill. Richmond Hill with the tiebreaker would move up to the 2 seed and have a home playoff game. Brunswick would win the region championship. Effingham would be number 3, and Glen Academy Statesboro would be number 4, whoever wins that ball game. If Effingham gets the win, They win the region championship. Brunswick High falls down there to the 2 seed, still has a home playoff game. Richmond Hill would instead be the 3 seed with a 4-2 region record. And of course, still, you have the winner of Statesboro and Glen Academy there at the 4 seed. So clarification there on just making sure we all knew everything that's going on here in this 6A region there with all the different scenarios that could play out here next week, and certainly can't wait for that. Of course, we'll be back here with you next Saturday morning, sorting it all out and looking at those playoff brackets as well on the High School Sports Roundup, and of course talking to coaches, which we will do when we come back. Kenderick Bonner, head coach of the Johnson Adams Smashers, they get the victory over Savannah High last night, 48-0, setting up quite the game with Beach next week. The Beach Bulldogs, as they're 2-3 in region play, Johnson 3-2, and fighting for that 3 seed and a spot in the playoffs come next week. But we'll talk to Coach Bonner about all that when we come back on the High School Sports Roundup on ESPN Radio Savannah Hilton Head, all fueled by Enmarket. And welcome back. It's the High School Sports Roundup here on ESPN Radio Savannah Hilton Head, the ESPN app, ESPNCoastal.com. PJ Zucco back here with you on the High School Sports Roundup, and looking forward to chatting about these big high school football games from last night, and updating you on these scores and big situations from last night as well. Looking forward to the last week of the regular season for sure, and certainly can't wait. Looking forward to that. Some big situations going on all around the area as well. One of those, Johnson, able to go out and get the victory last night over Savannah High, setting up a big matchup between Johnson and Beach coming up next week. But Johnson gets the win there over Savannah High last night, 48-0. 2-0, really rolling in that victory for the Atom Smashers and carrying a lot of momentum in the last week of the regular season. But joining us now, the head coach of the Johnson Atom Smashers, Kenderick Bonner, here with us on the High School Sports Roundup. Coach Bonner, great to have you on. How you doing this evening? How you doing this morning? Hey, Coach Bonner, do we have you?
Yeah, I'm here. Good morning.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, Coach, I got you now. Good morning, Coach Bonner. How's it going this morning? How you doing? And obviously a great win there last night, Coach, to go out and grab a big victory in region play, keep that momentum rolling over Savannah High.
Yeah, I'm glad that you guys have me on this morning. But what I've been pretty much doing today is just kind of looking back at some scores from last night and just kind of looking at how everything gonna shake out going into this last week.
Yeah, Coach, absolutely. And yeah, this last week could be very interesting for everybody for sure. And obviously, you got to get past Savannah High last night there to be able to do so. And I think one of the biggest things, I know a lot of people are going to see that offense and really clicking and kind of finding that potential that we've been talking about. Before we get to that, that obviously that goose egg, whenever you see that goose egg on the scoreboard, you got to give a lot of credit to the defense and what they were able to do, even coming away with some takeover, some turnovers and some points there on the defensive side of the football last night.
Yeah, they played phenomenal. They're trying to really hit their stride as well. The way we look at it, I mean, you heard it several times. A good defense brings about good offense. So they got a chance to really show. I mean, the last 2 weeks that they can really be dominant, only allowing 6 points in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of those against a team that was, playing for a region championship there last night with Windsor Forest. So like you said, only allow 6 points there over the past 2 weeks. And the defense for Johnson has been really solid over the past little bit, and looking forward to keep that up here next week. But Coach, offensively, you guys able to kind of explode there last night and again, able to run the football really well, hit some big passes and score some points there against Savannah High.
Yeah, it's right now the offense is being led by Keon Edwards, but he has a lot of weapons out there right now, and they're all kind of just hitting their stride and just taking each week 1 week at a time and taking each play one play at a time. Ted Hurst is doing phenomenal out there in the receiving game. Of course, Amarion Scott kind of just picked up where he left off, and then Jonathan Pendergraft, he's also a young talent sophomore who is really playing beyond sophomore potential this year.
Yeah, Coach, absolutely. Talking to Kenderick Bonner, head coach of the Johnson Atom Smashers, here with us on the High School Sports Roundup. And Coach, exactly, I feel like, as we talked about, a lot of potential on this team and have really been growing into that as well. Do you feel like what has been, I think, the main thing for that development? Is it just being able to get them out on the practice field as much as possible, get that in-game experience? Because I feel like from the beginning of the season till now, we've seen a lot of progress with this team, with this Atom Smashers team.
Yeah, it's definitely been about chemistry more than anything, and just continue to have guys believe. And one of our mottos is to trust the process. And we understood as a coaching staff what the first 5 games of our schedule was like with Augusta Christian, New Hampstead, Islands, Jenkins, and even Liberty County, the team that actually won our region championship this year. But with those first 5 games, we knew how hard it was going to be. And so as a coaching staff, you got to make sure your guys continue to believe all the way through week 10. And so we knew that in the second half of the season that we could really get it going. And if we figured it out in the second half of the season to continue to have the guys bought in, that we can make this playoff again, and we can try to go and probably pull off an upset or something in the playoffs. Who knows? But it's been really all about continuing to make sure they believe after getting through the gauntlet. The first 5 games I knew was going to be hard when I looked at the schedule. I think we probably had one of the hardest schedules in the area in the first 5 games.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. Like you said, those first 5 games, tough, a gauntlet, and competed well, I think, in those first 5 games as well. You look at, all the way back to the start of the regular season, almost getting that victory over Augusta Christian. And as you mentioned, just being able to compete really well throughout those 5 games and take those lumps, but learn from it as well and apply it to this team here later in the season. And Coach, obviously you look forward to applying that and doing even more. And you talk about playing well at the right time. The Adam Smashers have been able to do that. Beach comes back, almost gets a surprise victory over Liberty County there last night. And I know, Coach, a big match looking forward into next week. I know we're not going to dive into all the X's and O's or anything like that just yet, but what do you need to see from your practice this week as you take on Beach and trying to punch that ticket to the playoffs once again?
Overall, from the team, they just need to stay humble and continue to stay motivated and continue to trust in the process. We say the things like our catchphrases, we throw them out there so often, and one of them is trust the process. So we already know that coming into this game as a coaching staff, that team has something to play for. And so we just have to make sure our players understand that we also have something to play for. And what we got on the line is a third seed in the playoffs. That's big for us. And then also a first-time 5-5 season since 2009. That's over 12 years since Johnson has gone 5-5, 500 on the season. So we have what we have to work towards, and Beach have what they have to work towards. But our focus can't be solely on Beach. We have to make sure we continue to understand what we're trying to do here at Johnson to make this thing special.
Absolutely, and they have a chance to do that there with the Johnson Adams Smashers, as you mentioned, being able to get a victory here next Friday on the last week of the regular season, grab that 3 seed, be in the playoffs once again, and grab a 5-5 season, first time since 2009 there with the Adams Smashers. Kendarick Bonner, head coach of the Johnson Adams Smashers, has been our guest here on the High School Sports Roundup, fueled by End Market. Coach, great to have you on and talk to you this morning. Sorry, up against the end of the show here, but really appreciate it, and we'll certainly be talking to you again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Coach. Kendarick Bonner, head coach of the Johnson Adams Smashers, and yeah, playing well at the right time. That always so important for any high school football team, but especially when you talk about getting better, having that region schedule there in the latter half of the season, and just playing well at the right time, getting into the playoffs, and hopefully make some waves in the playoffs for the Johnson Adams Smashers as well. They have the potential and I think the athleticism to do so. We'll see if they can do it. But I'm PJ Zucco. This has been High School Sports Roundup every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 here on ESPN Radio Savannah Hilton. And stay tuned later in the day. Georgia-Florida coverage starting at 11:30, and the Bulldogs taking on the Gators at 3:30 their kickoff. I'm PJ Zucco, hoping you have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Stay safe wherever you go on the roads out there. A ton of traffic, obviously, and a ton of people out there. So stay safe wherever you go, and God bless.